Good morning. It's Dr. Ruth Roberts, the original holistic pet health coach. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day so far. And for those of you that come on with us on a regular basis, happy to have you back. I don't have a coach here with me today, but what I want to do is show you around the a really cool circle community. And I'm super excited about this for a number of reasons. One is if you have been on many Facebook groups, the Facebook knows what you're talking about, right? So if we're in Circle, it's a private community. And so any discussions, any shares we have, any of that stuff stays private. So for those of you jumping on, where are you coming in from today? And how's your pups doing? Everybody happy and healthy? Or you got stuff that's you're trying to deal with? So drop that in the comments. Would love to see what's up for you. Um, and let me do this. I'm going to pop this up. So this is our circle group. And again, we've got kind of a couple of communities in here, not more than, well, more than that. The other really cool thing is we got named a platinum community by Circle because we have so much engagement and so much activity going on. So this is our free community. The cool thing is that we have message boards, much like you would see on Facebook, but we've also got several free courses here, our downloads for our holistic pet health coach, holistic protocols, a couple of recipes and treats, some other cool informational downloads, including when to spay and neuter, 5 facts about pet food, our My Vaccine protocol, and a really awesome ebook called When Not to Go to the ER Vet. And I think this has saved a lot of people a lot of heartache in terms of knowing when to get there. Cool. Great, Heather. We'll get to this question. And Lori, I'm so sorry to hear about your B-cell lymphoma pup. That is a sucky cancer. So looking for pain relief options, and she's on several pain meds. Caroline, thanks for popping that in. The other thing I want to make you all aware of too is you've seen many of the coaches come in, start sharing their advice, and help you understand things. If you need detailed help, and I'm going to answer your questions in just a minute, this is the place to go. This is where you can find the coaches that have already completed the certification process and are able to start helping you. They have a myriad of different backgrounds. Christy, for instance, is a certified dog trainer, but her passion and her business has been to raise Labrador retrievers to be emotional support dogs um, within the school system local to her. The other thing you'll notice too is there's a lot of people with a lot of initials, and these are people that are human health coaches. And Deb Tubert's been doing this on her own for many, many years. So we've got a lot of people with a lot of different amazing backgrounds. So I'm going to drop this link in here for you because I think it's important that you know where they need to go, um, or you know where to go to find help from a coach. But these folks have done so much work. They are so passionate about what they're doing, and they are waiting to help you. So I think the amazing thing is if you don't understand the concept of human health coaching, this is kind of where this is born out of. And the idea is this, is that you go to the doctor says, you've got metabolic syndrome. And if you don't make a difference, you're going to end up with diabetes. And that's the end of the visit. So now what do, right? It's like you go to the vet and the vet tells you, your dog has stage 2 kidney disease. Get this bag of prescription food and come back in 3 months. We can't really do anything else until it gets worse. So the coaches are the people that are going to prevent you from waiting 3 months to see if it got worse or not. They're going to help you design a diet, supplement program, and lifestyle steps so that you can impact what's happening through nutrition with whole foods and supplementation. And you've got somebody to help you through that process so that you have that guide to help you pivot when things aren't going according to plan. Because this is the problem, with health and wellness, we have a plan and sometimes it doesn't work exactly as we'd like, and we need to adjust what we're doing to make it work better. So uh, yeah, so Heather, I'll answer your questions here since you guys are on it and you're asking questions. So thank you. How do you board your dog if they require vaccines? So this is the thing. I mean, if you're boarding your dog, you have to play by the rules that the boarding kennel sets. And the boarding kennel is setting many of those rules because of what the insurance companies are dictating to them. So if your pet has had issues with vaccines in the past and it's not possible to revaccinate them because of a serious health risk, then my suggestion would be to find a pet sitter, someone that can come into your home to take care of your pet. If you're just worried about what the um, the vaccines might do, what I hope you will do is jump into Circle and go grab this download called Recommended Vaccinations. And what this will do is show you and teach you exactly what I used to do in practice to help provide good vaccination strategies without creating harm. So it's not that, the vaccines have their place, but if you have a pet that's reacted severely to them in the past, that's where we want to make sure that they're protected. And the best way to do that is with a pet sitter. Now, Lori, this is a tough one, B-cell lymphoma. And what I would suggest doing as a first step, again, go to Circle, download, there's a holistic pet health protocol for cancer specifically. That will give you a starting point. But this is a long-term relationship you need to have with someone to offer the best options for your dog to help with the lymphoma. So again, this is where, I can't, like, for instance, we were having some issues with Hayo, and I get blinded because she's my baby. So I reach out for help to others to help guide me through what we need to do next and make sure that I'm offering Hayo the very best help. So it's not just you, like, what the heck do I do when our babies get sick? It hurts us, and we need to really have that guide to help us know what to do next. So, the most important thing you need to do is, if you're not feeding some sort of a whole food diet, is start there. My my learning is in traditional Chinese veterinary medicine, and so I am a proponent of cooking, not a raw diet. And I think that for many of these guys, because their guts are already compromised, throwing raw cold food in there is difficult for them to digest. So the original crock-pot diet would be a great place to start. And then the next thing to do is to remove as many chemicals as possible from your home. And then there are other basic things. If you improve the function of the microbiome, you will improve the function of the immune system, which will help start surveilling for these cancer cells better. You can also add high doses of omega-3 fatty acids. That's been shown consistently to improve cancer outcomes. And probiotics could be another great option. So currently I suggest Megaspore because it is a spore-based probiotic. The goal is not to use it to build a new microbiome, but rather to provide the infrastructure so that the microbiome, the good guys in the microbiome, can thrive and prosper. And so there's that. Go check out that protocol for more information. And honestly, find a coach to work with, because I think this will be critical to get your pup the most help and the most success possible. And Hayo has to come visit and help us because she wants to make sure I'm doing it right. So, Caroline, you've got an elderly dog looking for pain relief, and she's on several pain meds already, and sort of that usual combination is Tramadol, non-steroidal drugs, gabapentin, and then we end up with a dog that feels a little better, but is sedated. So what I would suggest doing is, again, we're going to work on functional medicine principles and TCBM principles. If the digestive system isn't working well, that's the first place to start. If you're feeding a kibble, um, many pet parents find that by switching to a cooked diet or a whole food diet, the level of pain goes down dramatically. And so that's step one. And many of the steps that I just mentioned from cancer, this is going to sound like this is the one size fits all, but the underlying principles are the same. Chronic inflammation, dysbiosis, the inability to digest properly, and the ability to detoxify properly are the three main things that are not working for most of these guys. So it's critical that you get these steps under control and then see where you are. One of the other most amazing things that we've come across recently is pulsed electromagnetic frequency mats, actually. And there's a company called PEMF we have partnered with. The mat is actually double the size of the one in the picture on our website. It is super because the dog can lay on it, you turn it on, you can support both pain, accelerate their healing process, and also reduce anxiety and stress. So rather than having to have two devices, you have one device that you're able to operate and switch programs from your cell phone. So it's just been a fantastic tool on so many levels. So for these older dogs, I think I would start with the pain relief programs. And then once you see improvement, then I would throw in accelerated healing at least a couple of times a week to help keep things healing and also to prevent other issues from popping up. Now, Heather, we do indeed have a supplement called Holistic Total Body Support. And Erica's dropped some links in there for Holistic Total Body Support and then the Pet's Daily Wellness Formula. Now, the differences between these two products are there's just one, and that is that Holistic Total Body Support contains pork and beef glandulars to support the entire endocrine system, whereas the Daily Wellness Formula does not. And I developed this because we see so many pets with food sensitivities. It was important to have a supplement that would balance a homemade diet without those proteins in it. So if you did need to remove pork and beef from the diet, you have that option. Um, this is a heartbreaker. So, what is the reason that so many dogs are dying from low platelets? And these are otherwise young, healthy dogs. So, most likely, what this is going on is something called autoimmune thrombocytopenia. So, the $10 word for platelet is a thrombocyte because it helps with clotting. And so it, there's a myriad of reasons. And I hate to say this, but one of the underlying reasons isn't just the terrible kibble, the over vaccination, the pesticides that our dogs are having placed on them or are eating, the amount of toxins in the environment. It's because we're spaying and neutering them so young. If we think about that in terms of us, so for instance, and there's no studies really on the pet side about the effect of spaying and neutering, with the exception of one, which I'm going to circle back to in a minute. So the first on the human side, if you are a woman age 64 or younger, and the doctor says we need to remove both of your ovaries, and they do this surgically, you have just taken 4 years off your life. That is how important hormones are in maintaining health. And this is in women that are already in menopause. So we're like, oh, the ovaries aren't doing anything, so let's just take them out. Well, it turns out that that shortens life for women by 4 years. So imagine we've spayed and neutered our dogs and cats by 6 months, 8 weeks in some cases. They've never had a competent endocrine system. Now, Dr. Michelle Kunzler at Corvallis at Oregon State, the Corvallis Veterinary School at Oregon State University, is a theriogenologist, and that means she studies breeding animals. So how she got into this tangent, I don't know, but I'm grateful. And what she found out is that spayed and neutered pets have luteinizing hormone levels, here you go, buddy, of 20 to 30 times of that of intact pets. Well, why is this? So there's something called a feedback loop. And if you have enough estrogen, testosterone, progesterone floating around your system, that that is part of the feedback loop to tell your hypothalamus inside your brain, hey, we're good here. We've got plenty of hormone. Don't make any more of the hormone precursor, gonadotropin releasing hormone. And don't tell the pituitary to release more of it. So if we've spayed and neutered and taken away virtually all of the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and put these animals into early menopause and andropause to the point where they're not getting any very minimal production, that feedback loop is unchecked. And what happens is, as I said, the luteinizing hormone or LH levels go up 20 to 30x normal. But worse is that tissues that should not have receptors for LH do. And the tissues that end up with the receptors are the brain, the adrenal glands, the bones, the joints, the bone marrow, where immune cells are made, and platelets are made, and red cells are made, and white cells are made. And when the LH sits on these receptors in those tissues, we see increased numbers of autoimmune disease. And as I said earlier, immune mediated autoimmune thrombocytopenia, low platelets, is an autoimmune disease. So there's a great deal of evidence that this early spaying and neutering, combined with all of the other toxins and physical and emotional stresses that your pet is facing, is behind this epidemic. I mean, what's insane to me is that we know that all dogs have a 25% chance of developing cancer. And even worse is that dogs over the age of 10 have a 50% chance of developing malignant cancer. This is ludicrous and absolutely insane. So I think in humans, the percentage all cause, all cases of cancers is like 0.4% of the entire population, and yet cancer is the number 3 killer in the US. In the Italian dog cancer registry, the percentages work out to be about 1 to 4%, depending on if you're male or female dog. And why is that? Because they don't spay and neuter as often in other countries as we do in the US. So please don't misunderstand me. When I started veterinary practice, the local SPCA in Charleston, South Carolina, took in 45,000 animals every year and euthanized 38,000 animals every year. I don't want to go back there. Nobody wants that to happen anymore. So, by solving the pet overpopulation problem through spaying and neutering, we've created another one. And what I'm here to tell you is that there are multiple ways to support pets that are already spayed and neutered and help them live long, healthy lives. But you need to feed whole foods. You need to control inflammation. You need to control the body's ability to detoxify, and you need to improve the microbiome. So, again, this is why you need a guide to help you figure out how to do this stuff. Can you tell I'm passionate about this stuff? Can I get a thumbs up or some hearts or something? I mean, here I am on my soapbox. Are y'all, is this making sense to y'all? Yes, no, maybe, perhaps, I don't know. Yeah, right on. Let me hear. Is this jiving with what you are feeling? Is like, what's going on? This is insane, right? It is insane. It's absolutely insane. So, Allison, I'm gonna put this up. Um, so you've got a 13-year-old Jack Russell Terrier, and I love these guys. They are so full of vigor and love. Um, yeah. So, I mean, this is so common. And what you're fighting is a really common problem, and it isn't. So now you think you have 2 problems, right? You have arthritis and diarrhea. You still have one problem that's causing the arthritis and the diarrhea, and that is leaky gut or intestinal permeability. So what we have been doing and what I've trained the coaches to do is to do a food sensitivity test with a simple at-home test that you just take saliva and hair and send that in. We get a report back on over 200 foods plus environmental chemicals. Amazing stuff. Our friends at Glacier Peak Holistics pioneered getting this test out to pet parents. It is a bioresonance test. You will see people say, "Oh, it doesn't work because it's just, energy," right? Whatever, it works. And I have found it to be as effective as the NutriScan test and the blood test for allergies. It's a great way to set a roadmap. From there, we go to developing a rotation and elimination diet based on 3 different recipes that are most likely to support your pet's gut by taking away the foods that are creating harm. And then there's several other things that we can do to um, help control this and help get things under control. Um, so, Allison, again, this has been going on since 2019, and it is now 2024. So you've got 5 years of this going on in your 13-year-old Jack Russell's life. So those are the basic mechanics of how to start working with this. There's a course called Gut Instincts, The Guide to Natural Gut Healing. But honestly, work with a coach. This person can help you walk through the steps slowly so that things don't go too fast and create a worsening of the diarrhea and symptoms. And then also help you find the right things to support your dog so that it's not experiencing so much pain from the arthritis. So it's a tough one, and believe me, I feel your pain. So, Heather, I know you're cut out, but basically what I would suggest is pet sitting. Um, if if your pet's not vaccinated, and then listen, this will be up here, so go back and listen to what I said earlier as well. Great. Right, Lori, so cool. Yeah. Yeah, so all of the coaches have been trained to support with cancer. So go kind of take a look on the page and see who makes sense to you. But they all have our basic protocols down. The other thing is too, is that every Monday they're on a call with me. So if they have questions about a particular client they're working with and a pet they're working with, they can ask me and we can really dial in the treatment. Susie, I get it. So Hio, I think, is the only poodle I know that doesn't have a heart murmur. And yes, that's kind of most poodles do have it. But does that end up creating problems down the road? Probably. So I think you're wise. What I would do is, again, get the basics covered: whole food diet, high doses of omega-3 that improves cardiac function, CoQ10, carnitine, taurine, hawthorn berry, cardiac support. All of those things are going to be really, really helpful to preventing that murmur from worsening and creating problems down the road. That is great, Susie, that you're feeding whole foods. That is perfectly wonderful. And Allison, we've got your question covered. Um, Yeah. So, Graham, this is a great question. Recently neutered, he was anxious, and the vet thought it might help with his lack of confidence and fear. And I'm sorry, I'm behind on the comments, so you may have put more, but um, and I'm sorry, I'm glancing ahead, and it's like, oh my God, it's just crazy. So there's a couple of things you can do. One is often this will worsen the anxiety. Um, and there are a couple of things, again, whole food diet, all of the things I keep saying, Simplex F, Simplex M for male, F for female, to help support the adrenal glands to do their job to support the level of sex hormones in the body. The other thing is this is where a pet's PEMF mat would be a great idea because I got to tell you, our little dog Hio had she was in a house with over 140 dogs and had, I think she has PTSD. So, she was my mom's dog before ours. Um, and she we took her down to Mexico, and it was our first time in mainland Mexico. They love fireworks here. So I mean, poor thing was about to crawl out of her skin. We were already doing CBD, and if you're not using CBD, you definitely ought to be. Hemp oil by Hemp Dog Health or CBD Dog Health is, in my opinion, the best product on the market. So use that, use the Pets PEMF mat, use the relax setting to help get that anxiety under control. So wow is right. Yeah. Um, yes, we do sell it on the site, Lori. So I think it's a Glacier Peaks test. I'll drop that in. So we got some links popping in there for you. And then this just breaks my heart. So, eh, there's a bunch of stuff going on right now about Purina food is evil and all these dogs are dying. And I'm not going to say they're evil. What I'm going to say is there are a lot of dogs dying right now. And it's not just Purina. Here's the deal. We can get mad at the pet food industry and wait for them to change, or we can take matters into our own hands and cook for our pets or do raw food for our pets, whatever your preference is. Again, what works in my hands is home cooking because it's going to be another decade or never before they take responsibility and they start using high quality ingredients. This is where you have to take responsibility for your family. So what I'm going to tell you is going to be like, oh my God, I don't want to cook for my dogs. Cook for your dogs because this is your best way to prevent health problems in the future and to ensure that they are not exposed to some toxic garbage in some highly processed ingredient. Please, please, please go get the original Crockpet diet. Go get Dr. Judy's books. Do something. But the way the Crockpet diet is set up is so that you cook in batches of food. For full transparency, when Mary Jo, my wife, and I first met, we had 5 dogs and 5 cats, and the dogs ranged in size from 75 pounds to 9 pounds. It took us 4 hours on a Sunday, once a month, from stem to stern, prepping, cooking, processing, freezing, cleaning up for 10 animals. So it is a time commitment, but the thing is that it is the best investment of time you can make in your dog's health. So my guess is that you've been scouring the internet trying to find what's going on with pet food, and you've probably spent at least 6 to 10 hours doing this research already. So you could have spent that 6 to 10 hours buying food, shopping for the best prices for the proteins, for the other ingredients, washing them, chopping them as needed. I'm a lazy cook, so I don't chop much up. Cooking them in the oven, in a roaster oven on top of the counter. And if you go do the Crock-Pot course, I go through all the different options, doing the Instapot, whatever it is. You could have had enough food for the month in the freezer that you knew was safe. So this is how passionate I am about that. It's just so important and so critical. Right, Susie, I think I got that. So, Rhonda, here's what I would suggest. Where do you live? Go to Google and Google incidence map of heartworm disease. Look where you live. Are you in Florida? Are you in Memphis, where the highest rates of heartworm disease occur? And are you in South Carolina? Then what you might consider is using the least amount of stuff in it, heartworm prevention, usually an ivermectin based or moxidectin based, so Interceptor, or one of the generics for HeartGuard that doesn't have all the plus stuff in it, and use it every 45 to 60 days. When you do it, that drug stays in your dog's body for about 24 hours, and it is killing everything from 45 days ago and up to that current day. Then the next day, start milk thistle. And there's some dosing guidelines in our protocols that you can get downloaded from Circle. So just go check that out. There is a very rare number of dogs that can't tolerate that schedule. And the other thing to remember is that once it's consistently below 55 degrees at night, the larvae of the heartworm cannot mature in the mosquito to be passed on to your dog. So that really drops your frequency down to 9 months of concern, even in the Southeast, except for maybe Florida, in terms of heartworm prevention. And then you're dosing every 45 to 60 days. So that means you're going to give a total of about 4 to maybe 5 doses per year. So I think if you use that cleanup method, there's that. And then the other option is there are herbal alternatives such as HWF by Amber's Naturals. That's been so easy. Yeah, yep. And that's been great. So there, and I think Erica can drop us a link to that too. So you're right. Yeah, there's all this stuff going on. The Facebook group Saving One Pets One at a Time, and Judy Morgan. I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff, but what they're doing is battling the industry, and that is not going to protect your pet in the meantime. They are creating a great deal of awareness, which I think is incredibly valuable. But even Dr. Judy is saying, go make some food for your pet. Um, so right on. So again, Caroline, I'm not a raw advocate. I think that it's been promoted as the ancestral diet. But if you really look at how dogs evolved with us, Neanderthals were cooking 50,000 years ago. Homo sapiens showed up around 50,000 years ago. Neanderthal were already cooking. Canis familiaris, as an offshoot of the wolf species, showed up about 30,000 years ago. And they evolved with us, Homo sapiens. They evolved eating our garbage first, which includes our poop, which is why their microbiomes are quite similar. And then finally, what we fed them. So we had this transition from garbage cleanup to companions, and they become our hunting companions, our camp companions, our protectors, and our buddies finally in this century. So pet food has been around since in big numbers since the 50s. So have Doritos. So the fact that we have all of these highly processed foods around for now 75, 80 years, look at the damage that has been done to our health in that time period and to our pets' health, because this is what we end up feeding them. If you look back at what was fed before and you look at some of the oldest living dogs, Bobby had his title taken away, but he was still an older guy. He was eating what his family ate. In Portugal, he was eating fresh vegetables that were boiled, and I got this out of Rodney Habib's mouth, and whatever proteins were left over. He was not eating a high protein diet. So I think that this myth of raw food being the ancestral diet has been propagated, and it does make dogs better coming off of kibble, but I don't think it's the ultimate answer. It is correct absolutely for cats, and it is correct absolutely for some dogs, but I'm fixing raw fed guts many times with cooked food. So that's kind of it. The other thing is about packaged raw foods let's think about the environmental impact of that. Number one, dogs and cats are now eating 25 to 30% of the conventionally produced animal proteins in the United States. What is the number one producer of greenhouse gases? Beef cattle. Now, we're going to have all of this stuff processed at a company, and then they're going to package it into these convenient little plastic dividers, and then they're going to put that into a styrofoam cooler on top of ice blocks and put that in FedEx or UPS or something that then puts it on a plane and then on a truck and then drives it to your house. So, what is the environmental impact of that? Or drives it to the pet store? And what I'm trying to get across to you is that if part of the problems we are facing in terms of health are due to nanoplastics, CO2, greenhouse gases, ozone, particulate matter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, glyphosate, herbicides, pesticides, all of this gross stuff, we're producing more of it by providing food that way. So my hope and my goal is that we start helping pets with real food that you make at your home so that we all minimize our environmental impact. And that's it. So thank you for that, because it's like, oh my God, I don't want to cook for my dog. But it's really not that hard once you get into it. So thank you. Uh, Pancreatitis and IBD, low fat diet, and I want to cook for them. So if you're starting with crock pot, the average recipe calls for about 6 tablespoons of oil. And I would start with half of that and then work your way up. And again, all the things I just mentioned, Glacier Peak Holistics test, you know, go through it. And again, this is a great situation to work with a coach. So I'm not sure who this is, and great that you're in the certification program. So we've got coaches in here asking questions too, because we're all learning together, right? So if his lipstick, meaning his penis never came out, and maybe he's simply too young yet, and that's okay. And if he's peeing everywhere, then what I would do is make sure he doesn't have a urinary tract infection or crystals in the urine, because that can create symptoms of uh, urinary tract infection. So it's uncomfortable, it hurts when they pees, all of that good stuff. Um, so check it out. And Jen, great to meet you, and great Rena that is helping you. So TOCPD is balanced to the latest AFCO standards plus in the vitamins and minerals that I believe are getting depleted faster due to stress. So B vitamins, zinc, selenium, that kind of stuff. Um, it's I use for full transparency, I use Animal Diet Formulator, the professional plan, and balance it, including using holistic total body support. Jamie, I'm so sorry. This cancer epidemic is just so frustrating. Um, so you're using the monoclonal antibody to treat the cancer, plus CBD dog health, which is perfect, and vitality mushrooms. Um, that's great. Often anal carcinoma, so it sounds like it is indeed that the malignant version does stay local. So this is where I would use something like, oh crikey, it's not Soothe. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name. It's the R salve that Angela developed. Crikey, let me just look it up because I'm blanking. Uh, Remedy, there we go. So this is a situation where you could use either Soothe or Remedy. And because of the location of this thing, I would start with Soothe, because we want it, because it's in a delicate and potentially uncomfortable spot. We want it to go slowly, but this will help kind of control any new growth. Um, so that would be where to go. And then the other thing is too is that you need to really dive deep into all of the other things I was talking about earlier. Whole foods diet, if you're not doing that. I would do a rotation and elimination diet for this guy. Um, Omega 3s, probiotics, and just get those basics covered. And there's lots and lots of other options. Again, this is where using a working with a coach is going to be incredibly helpful. So let's see, Allison. Yeah, Adequan, actually, I used to really like, but they changed the formula a bit once it got on the human side. So for clarity, what this product is, it's not a vaccine. It is an injection of polysulfatic glycosaminoglycans, which is a big fat mouthful for the precursors for glucosamine and chondroitin. So it does help with joint issues. However, it is derived from chicken. So if your pet has a chicken sensitivity, this may be why you're seeing issues. Again, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of other options, and Pets PEMF mat would be a great way to go. And CBD is okay, but you do need to approach it carefully because it will improve many things, and one of them is it may decrease vascular resistance. And if the heart is counting on that to maintain perfusion to all of the tissues, if you increase the dose too quickly, you may find some issues. So, again, this is where you'd want to start super low, like maybe 1 or 2 milligrams, and again, talk with somebody that's familiar with what else is going on in your dog to kind of understand where to increase, and when to increase. Yeah, so Chantel, that's great that you're cooking. That's amazing. And I think actually Hillary does more of a raw approach. And so the original Crock-Pot diet, I developed this back in 2006. It stood the test of the very first pet food recall. And thank you, you guys all got the remedy out before I did. Um, but I mean, there's so much out there, and there's a way to do it easily. So Maggie, thank you, and I loved spending time with you in the program. Maggie is one of our other certified holistic pet health coaches. She is a groomer as well, so she gets what you guys are seeing. She's seen this in her clients when people come in with healthy young dogs and a few years go by and they look like they're 12. It's terrible. So that's part of Maggie's passion for coming in there. Plus, she has the most challenging breed, the pugs. So she's your pug lady. HMT tests are fantastic. So Dr. Ava Frick, if you're not familiar with this, is offering it through CheckPup. I think I'm saying that right, checkpup.com. She's going to be coming in and doing some teaching for both the pet parents and continuing education program for our certified coaches. She's got some suggestions, but this is again where I would work with a coach. We've gone through some basics on using that test to help adjust the mineral intake in your dog, and it's some amazing stuff. And Allison, I think that I've heard some people say this, but in most of the functional medicine folks, I think that they get used together because they can actually improve things together. Um, so I don't know that I would separate them. The other difficulty is too in separating things out. It just makes it hard to get things under control, to get things administered and into the dog efficiently. Um, but I personally I use them together, and if I don't get as good a mineral absorption. What I think you do need to do with calcium is make sure that you have some sorts of vitamin D on board, whether that's in the food, in a mushroom product, which is D2, but it does convert to D3, or a straight up supplement of D3. So I think that's where they work better together. Now, let's see. We've got a couple more minutes, and yes, Maggie, we'll send you the pugs. You love them. And y'all, this is so much fun. I'm so happy you guys are jumping on here with questions. This makes life really fun for me. So let me do this. I'm going to add this screen. Um, Actually, I'm going to answer this one more question from Laura because this is an interesting one. Um, if you have a good surgeon, it won't, and it will not be disfigured, is what I should say. One thing you could consider trying in the meantime, because topicals need to be very safe and non-irritating because it is going to get in the eye. So you might consider like a drop of Heal um, by Hemp Dog, and that has been really successful in helping to alleviate many irritations in the eye itself, and it may help reduce the size of this mass as well. So that would be a consideration, Laura. Add to stage. There we go. Boom. So just want to jump back over to our circle group and welcome some folks in. So Geneva, um, great to see you. What a doll baby Wally is. So 2 weeks into your life. Um, 18 and a half years old. That's amazing. So good on you. So I think you'll find the answers you're seeking here. Um, and Carla, welcome. So I think we can get you some options. We just talked quite a bit about cancer and arthritis and really prevention. Ladies, good on you for knowing that's really the way to go. Um, so again, the prevention is supporting the body because our pets are spayed and neutered, supporting the body with something like Simplex F, Simplex M, something to support the sex hormones that are not being made anymore in great abundance. And then again, support the microbiome, support the body's ability to detoxify, and support the body's ability to control inflammation. And by doing that, so for instance, all of my dogs in the last 10 years have lived to be at minimum 12. I did have Brittany Spaniel Sam Ham that we adopted at 8, who unfortunately developed a brain tumor at the age of 12 and left us very soon. But the rest of the dogs are living to be 16, 16 and a half with this idea of preventing problems from being an issue. So welcome, Carla, sled dogs. This is amazing. Right on. And I'm so excited. We would be so delighted to have you in the holistic health, pet health certification programs, Crystal. What cuties. Great. And Claudia's just started the program on your doggy vax dilemma. And this is a big one. So again, um, yeah, wow. So here's the deal about rabies vaccines. And what I can tell you immunologically, and this is based on the work of Dr. Ron Schultz, who, if you are familiar with what he's done, he has tested vaccines for almost every manufacturer and produced reports that sometimes they really did not like. So, what I would say is this: understand that in the rest of the world, there are only 1 year certificates for rabies. Um, I would suggest, since he's had only one vaccine, to repeat it, but again, start with Thuja right off the rip to help detoxify from that vaccine. And this is the problem. I think the titers are great, but it's difficult to get many of the government authorities to recognize them. So I think it's important to understand this is kind of the place where we are. And so you can do medical exemptions for pets that have a clear medical issue, and but that's not where you are right now. So what I would say is do the 3 year vaccine, but before you do it, have Thuja on hand, whether that's the mother tincture, which we carry, or the homeopathic version. I would use a 6C, 12C. You can get this from Waron, usually on Amazon, or many of the supplement stores carry it as well. This is a super, super good way to prevent both the short-term and the long-term side effects and reactions. So it's great that you're recognizing the issues. The other thing that I want to put out there to you is that um, we need to be mindful of the amount of garbage that we are all experiencing every day and that our pets are experiencing every day. So we know, for instance, and this is a heartbreaking statistic, in 2021, there's a group that's been analyzing human placentas for the visible presence of microplastics. And they started doing this probably a decade ago and probably a bit longer. But in 2021, 100% of the placentas they examined contained microplastics. And I'm going to let you just hold that for a second. That's devastating to me. Our environment is so contaminated. It is in us. We are eating it in our food. The more processed your food is, the more plastics it contains. We are breathing it because the nanoplastics get aerosolized. And then DDT was banned in 1968, and if you don't know what that is, it is a pesticide. It's one of the first big guns that industry developed. It is still showing up in the cord blood of children in the United States. Glyphosate is in every organic wine in California. And how is that if they're not spraying? So there's something called the water cycle. And what that means is it rains, water drops down. It goes into the lakes, the streams, the rivers, the creeks, the ocean, and all of that water filters through the soil, washes over the ground, and takes everything there with it. And then it goes out in the ocean, or it evaporates, goes back up into the clouds, and it rains again and comes down. And what's happening is all of the things that worry the hell out of us, the plastics, the herbicides, the pesticides, the PFASs, all of this stuff is in the water cycle. It's not going to go away anytime soon, and we are not slowing down our additions to it. So the other critical thing that we must address is a daily detoxification. And I've mentioned this, like if our detox system isn't working, we're really in trouble. But it is absolutely critical to make sure that we have good absorbance, fulvic acid, humic acid, and we've got some exciting news coming up about how you can work with a coach to really get your pet on a high quality detox program. But this is going to be absolutely critical part of our daily lives and our pets' lives to maintain health. So, all right, we're at the hour. This has been a ball, y'all. Keep coming back every week. We'll have, I think, somebody else on with me next week, one of the coaches. And then the next thing is to figure out how to get this thing to play with Instagram. Thank you for all your questions, your interest, your support. Keep them coming and keep asking questions. If you don't ask, you don't know. So next week, ladies. Cheers.